Bush. Hey, and as far as I know, I think John told me yesterday I'm speaking at the next Exit and Build. So I'll be speaking at Exit and Build. If you guys want to come join us in Texas, for those of you who want to cross the border, maybe swim across the river, whatever you got to do. All right, we're going to roll into our next presenters, the final presenters before we go to lunch. As I mentioned earlier, we're 15 minutes behind, so if you really got to get to lunch, go ahead and order your food or whatever you got to do, but we're going to be here till 12:45, then we'll break for lunch. And I want to make a special announcement. Who saw the Sun on Demand yesterday, Dr. Cat and Son's presentation? Who missed it? Who missed it? Who didn't get to see? 1:50 before lunch starts. In here, we're turning the light back on. If you want to see it, come here. 1:50 before lunch restarts. We're going to turn the Sun on Demand back on. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into our final presenters before lunch. These are some more good friends who are going to speak to us about the importance of re-indigenizing our communities. And this is something that's very important to me, and I hope all of you will give them your full attention. Please welcome Vanessa and Danny Panzella-Velez to the stage. Make some noise for them. Yes.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. How awesome was this conference? Let me hear it. You know, the Exit and Build Land Summit and the Greater Reset, I get very emotional at these events. I've been friends with John and Derek for over a decade, and 10, 15 years ago, we were sitting around smoking weed and talking about this stuff, and now it is manifested into reality. And I'm so proud of you guys. I love you guys so much. So, just a brief introduction. My name is Danny Panzella-Velez. This is my beautiful and amazing wife, Vanessa Panzella. We both took each other's names because we are merging lineages going forward. So that was why I've had some people make some comments about that. So to clarify that. We are psychedelic integration coaches. We help teach people how to use psychedelics to heal their inner children. And I have to say, I think the way the speakers were ordered today was amazing. Howard's talk, and then Lainey's talk, and then Becca, and then now coming to us, I feel like there's a flow. So I really appreciate that. And I am so grateful to Lainey for her talk. I don't know if she's in the room, but oh my, that was amazing. Thank you so much for all of that. Yeah, give her another round of applause. So just as part of our introduction, I was the angry activist back in the day. I did a lot of activism in New York City about police accountability and 9/11 and ending the Fed. And when I first woke up, I was really angry. Like I'd been duped my whole life. And all these people now, I realize, were trying to control my life. And it was very difficult to deal with that anger. And I did a lot of things to try to medicate that anger, things that were not healthy for me, addictions like alcohol. And psychedelics really helped me to find my true center. And I want to say that in my eyes, psychedelics they're medicines that come from the earth, but they're also kind of like Dumbo's magic feather. If you remember, Dumbo did not need the feather to fly, but the feather gave him the confidence to fly for the first time. And then after that, he realized, oh, I don't need this. The power was within me all of the time. And so I know that some people have some resistance to psychedelics, but if you can think of it as a permission slip or Dumbo's magic feather that just kind of gets you into that place where you can do this internal self-inquiry to find who you really are, it's been a really beautiful journey, and I'm getting ahead of myself. So I'm going to allow my wife to introduce herself.
Hi, thank you all. Well, he just introduced us. But I did want to, before we really get started, I would like everybody to just close their eyes for a few moments, take a couple of deep breaths, take a deep breath in, and then sigh it out. Make some noise, shake it out. Let's move it. We've been here for 5 days. Some of us got to make it for 5 days and some of us didn't. And I want us to be in this state of gratitude as we take a couple of deep breaths. Gratitude for these amazing organizers who put together this beautiful event that really taught us a lot, teaches us a lot about community. When we talk about manifestation, it makes sense, right? In order to truly manifest something, you need to be able to feel it. So I want to extend our deep gratitude to Derek, Hakeem, Miriam, John, Rebecca, everybody who is here. And I also want to extend a deep, deep gratitude to all of our ancestors, because all of our ancestors have played a pivotal role in us being here. And as they say, we are the prayers of our ancestors. So if we can tune into that, tune into our lineages as far back as we can feel them, and we can feel them when we make that deep intention to really tune into that, into who we are. And once we're able to tune into that, we can call on that energy, we can call on their prayers, on their guidance, on their support as we make decisions, as we take action. And of course, a huge thank you to our beloved Mother Earth, who holds us in the belly of her womb, who gives us with everything that we could possibly need to be sovereign beings on this beautiful planet.
Aho. So what is re-indigenization? When we first started on this medicine path, we first started to do our healing work, Vanessa really felt attracted to learning about her Aztec and Toltec lineage. She is from this land, Mexico. And I kind of was jealous. I'm watching her, and she has all these beautiful spiritual practices that she's pulling out of Aztec and Toltec culture. And I was like, what's my culture? McDonald's and MTV? Like, that's what I grew up with. So what is my culture? And so for me, the path of re-indigenization included digging into my Celtic lineages and Italian and Greek lineages, which has been really exciting to dig into some of the indigenous practices, especially of the Celts. That's where I've done most of my work. I'm just starting with my Italian and Greek sides. But I started to learn that the ancient Celtic Druids and pagans had some of the exact same beliefs and systems and even rituals that were so similar to what Vanessa was finding in her lineage. And then I went on this retreat and met this amazing friend who is indigenous to Maui, and he was sharing his indigenous Maui philosophies and spirituality. And I said, oh my God, it's the same there too. And Vanessa said, of course. Because it's all about living in harmony with nature. So re-indigenization is about taking the work that Lainey described of reparenting our inner child so that we can unravel the programming that we grew up with. So I can unravel McDonald's and MTV out of my persona, because that's not really me. That's not a part of who I am. It's something that I saw, I witnessed, people told me was a part of my culture. But really digging into my ancestry and where I really came from helped me to understand who I was, going back, right? And so when I finally had that, like, that strong foundation to stand on, that insecurity that I felt about, oh, I'm just a white person from America, I'm just a colonizer, I'm just all of these labels that get put on, right? Now I could stand in the confidence of, oh, I have a strong lineage myself, and I can tap into that and really become a sovereign person and have that confidence of the foundation built by my ancestors.
Yeah, so I want to share a little story. Like Danny said, we work with plant medicines, with psychedelics, and earlier last year, we did a Bobin Sana dieta, which is a 30-day plant medicine dieta where we abstain from as much stimulation as possible. Now, traditionally, these dietas are done in the jungle. You're in isolation, and the shaman just comes over to you every day to bring you your meals, and you are drinking this brew, which is not psychedelic, but the idea or the purpose is as you remove all of that stimulation, you start to build and develop a relationship with this plant. And so the story of Bobin Sana is a tree from the Amazon, and what we drink is the brew from the bark of the tree. And the Bobin Sana tree has roots that are 7 times deeper than its tallest branch. So if you were to take one of the branches of the Bobin Sana tree and pull it all the way down to the ground, once you let it go, it springs right back up. And so the lesson of plant medicine, Bobin Sana, is to be grounded in who you are, to be so grounded that you can play in all of these spaces that are not necessarily your way, right? The other day, Sterling was talking about panarchy and being able to live around other people with different beliefs, even if they're not your beliefs, and not be threatened by that. And so the idea of re-indigenization, when we tap into our roots, when we start recognizing who we are, where we come from, then we're able to come into other communities. I heard in one of the workshops, somebody was asking, if you're coming to Mexico, get in touch with the indigenous communities before you start building, because you want to know how to work with the land, you want to work respectfully. And when you know who you are, it's so much easier to work respectfully, because you're not here to extract from anybody. You're here to say, how can I be of service? Because I am of service to my ancestors, and you're of service to your ancestors, and I can respect your ways even if they're not my ways, because I am grounded in my sovereignty. I am grounded in knowing who I am, where I come from, what my beliefs are. And I can play in your beliefs as well, and I can explore and try them on for size. And I don't have to be afraid that if I step out of my belief system, I'm going to lose myself. And that's really the intention of that re-indigenization, is to ground into who you truly are, to ground into your true, authentic sovereignty. Because it's one thing to say, I'm a sovereign being and nobody can take that away from me. And as soon as a threat comes in, we're like, oh my God, we have to do something. They're going to take my sovereignty away. When you're truly sovereign, there's no way that anybody can take that away from you. You can even play in an unsovereign world and still be anchored into that true sovereignty.
Yeah. Yeah, we are in the matrix, but we are not of the matrix, right? We still have to live here in the matrix. We still have to associate with statists, or even people who have radical statist views like communism or these other tyrannical belief systems. One of the reasons why I was an angry activist was because of that insecurity. I needed to argue to convince you that I was right. I needed you to see my point of view, that 9/11 was an inside job and that they're spraying chemtrails and all of these things. I no longer need to convince anybody. I can share my beliefs. I can share the information that I have, but now I can do it in a place where I'm forming a connection first. The empathy, the bridge that we build with empathy between us, is what allows for people to be open to our message. And then they can receive, and maybe they take it and they go and they integrate it into their lives, and maybe they don't, but that's their path. I know what path I'm on.
Okay, so what are some aspects of indigenous cultures? And this is the thing, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to look into your culture and say, what were my ancestors doing, and I have to do every single thing that my ancestors did.
You do not have to move to the jungle and just wear a loincloth to re-indigenize.
Exactly. It's a matter of tuning into these, ultimately, like Danny said, a lot of these indigenous cultures are about being in harmony with nature, about aligning and really paying attention to our intuition, of honoring that intuition and then merging the two. We live in a very advanced society now. We've learned new technologies, and we don't have to reject the new and go back to the old. I honestly believe that re-indigenization helps us create, as some people say, the ancient new world. And so we're creating this world where we're bringing that old medicine, those old traditions. One of my Aztec teachers talks about how when Mexico was colonized, a lot of the indigenous people decided to hide their precious treasure, and the colonizers thought they literally had like gold and things, and so they were looking for stuff to find and extract, when in reality it was the precious teachings. And now a lot of these teachers are out there and they're sharing it, and they're saying it's go time, it's time for us to share this information with humanity, for all of us to bring those teachings into our lives. And that, again, that doesn't mean you have to reject everything that you know now, but now we incorporate these things. So for example, Like Danny said, I've been tapping into my indigenous culture. I work with the Aztec calendar. I look at how my ancestors viewed time, and I start to align myself and pay attention to those energies. Oh, this is winter time. It is a time for us to go a little bit more inward instead of go, go, go all the time, right? Learning to work within those cycles of nature, learning to tap into my cycles as a woman, for example, knowing how to work with those cycles as well. So it's all about finding ways to incorporate those ways. We live in New York City, so we're not exactly living indigenous culture 24/7. We're living in Brooklyn, and we're having our traditions. We have our morning cacao together. We go out, spend time in nature. We're doing these things that keep us grounded so that when we encounter people that talk about whatever status belief is on the agenda today, it's not triggering. It's not scary to us because we're grounded in our traditions. We're grounded in our knowing. We're grounded in our being.
Yeah. For me, the strength of us being in our sovereignty and then coming together and building community together, it makes the community that much stronger when we're all doing that internal work. And I think it's important. One of the things that it took me a long time to really get drilled through my head was that I am nature. Think about that. We are nature. We're not above it. We're a part of it. And I think a lot of times in our society, there is this kind of idea that we are above nature and nature is here to serve us. And I think nature does very generously serve us, even when we don't appreciate it. And so that's another aspect of re-indigenization, is coming to that appreciation that we are nature and we can co-create with nature. And a lot of the speakers so far, like Yoshi talking about regenerative culture, is very much in line. Essentially, regenerative culture is re-indigenization. It's bringing the old wisdom and love and respect for nature and natural law, the laws of nature, and then bringing that into our everyday life. And people keep saying to us, why are you still in New York City? We still have work to do in New York City. Someone has to hold this frequency. Someone has to hold this message, even in the city, especially in the city. I would love to move to Mexico, to the country, and we have plans. We've decided now, next winter, we're going to start spending at least a month here. And it's a little bit more difficult for me because I have a 13-year-old from my previous marriage, and I don't want to leave him behind, so I'm waiting till he feels confident enough where he could fly by himself and come back and forth with us. But in the meantime, we are holding the frequency of re-indigenization within New York City. And it is hard. It's like a master class. And that's the way we really look at it. Being among all that tyranny and all of that statism, it really tests us on a daily basis of how sovereign we are. And I know that when I get triggered, if I go into a restaurant and they want to, it's not so much a problem anymore, but if they wanted me to wear a mask or we're asking for a vaccine card, it would really trigger me. And that was my work. To be confident and know, what, I don't need to take a vaccine to come into a restaurant. I'm just gonna, and I found that when I just kind of did my own thing and didn't really worry about if anybody was gonna call me out and just kind of walked in like I own the place in that powerful sovereignty, not in an arrogant way, but just in the way of like, I know who I am and what I'm willing to do, and I'm not willing to do that. And so if you don't want my business, that's cool, I'll go somewhere else. So I'm no longer getting triggered by those types of things, and that's when you know you're in that sovereignty. So when you do get triggered, try to look at it as, where am I not sovereign? Where do I feel insecure that this person trying to impose something on me makes me feel like, uh-oh, they're going to try and control me?
Yes. Another aspect of indigenous culture that I wanted to talk about is storytelling, coming together in community. And I feel like what the Greater Reset is, what Exit and Build is people coming together in community. In Oaxaca, they have what they call La Guelaguetza, where people come together and they share their crops, they share their stories, they share their culture. And this is really what these events remind me of people from all over the world, from different places, coming together, sharing what we've accomplished over the past year, sharing what we're working on, what we want to build, what we want to create, and then supporting each other through that work. And we all have different ideas and different plans, different belief systems, and that all works too. But I think that's the beauty of us having these workshops where we sit together in circle as Indigenous people would sit together around the fire and tell our stories, share our experiences, that creates that connection. A while back, I read this book called Braiding Sweetgrass, and they talked about one of the indigenous communities, how they start their community gatherings with a prayer that aligns everybody with nature. So we honor Mother Earth, we honor the animal kingdom, we honor the plant kingdom, we honor the trees, the medicinal herbs, and we're all saying this collective prayer together, and it reminds us that we are all part of the one great experience that we're having right now. And when we are in that state of coming together, honoring all of these things together, it's a lot harder to find the conflict, right? It seems easier to find common ground because we are of this earth. We are working together to build our lives in whatever way feels best for us, but we are working together. We are, like Danny said, we are nature. We are children of Mother Earth, so we have our place, and we can work to find that place without oppressing anybody else, without having to make somebody else right. And one of the beautiful things about these circles, about these community gatherings, and I was sad to see that this year there weren't as many children, but this is the way we teach the future generations. We bring the children to the ceremonies. We allow them to come here. We allow them to run around and make noise, and it's okay. We learn that it's okay for them to be here because we're showing them the way, right? We can't say, okay, leave the children home so we can sit here and listen. The children have to see that. The children have to see us doing the work, coming together as a community. They have to see us going through conflict, and there's going to be conflict. It's okay. There's no need to fear that conflict. It's the part of us that's we're gonna expand. And I think, thank you. I think the more we embrace that conflict, the more we embrace those disagreements, and we allow those future generations to see, hey, we can deal with these disagreements peacefully, the more well-equipped they'll be to continue carrying this message forward.
Yeah, we can be the Bobinsana tree. When we're in conflict, when somebody's trying to pull or bend us or push us, we can be grounded in our own sovereignty. And, I can have that discussion with you. It could turn into a debate, but it doesn't have to turn into where we can't work together anymore or we have to separate. Look, I've been friends with John and Derek for a long time. All three of us have very strong personalities, at times difficult personalities. We trigger the shit out of each other. But we're also brothers, and we grow from those conflicts that we have from each other. We grow and we evolve together as a community when we can make space for that difference of opinion and that the conflict that eventually is going to arise. And I think the storytelling aspect is a really beautiful thing that I've really come to appreciate so much doing men's circles. I learned so much that a lot of the things that I thought I was dealing with, that I was the only one, like I felt isolated, I had these insecurities and these fears, and then I started sharing in these circles, and other men were telling me the same thing. They were sharing. I'll never forget my first men's circle. I was not the most popular kid in high school. I was kind of nerdy. I was a comic book geek, and I kind of got pushed around. And in my first men's circle, there was this guy. I call him Captain America because that's what he looked like. He just looked like this built, beautiful, strong. He looked like the prom king archetype, right? The guy that bullied me. And when I was expressing my insecurities, he was expressing the same insecurity. I was like, how is that possible? You look like the prom king. How could you have been going through that same thing? And it really made me realize that a lot of us are suffering silently with stuff that we're all suffering from. So the storytelling, the getting together and sharing together is connecting and makes that community so much stronger when we can be vulnerable and allow each other to hold space for us, even in our worst, what feels like to us, our worst moments. I had heard last week the phrase that pain is the price that we pay to meet God. And I think what that really means is we have to be willing, we don't have to stay and sit in the pain where the old priests used to whip themselves, not in that way, like we're self-flagellation, but in being willing to lean into the pain to see what the source of it is, where it's coming from, what we feel we're lacking inside, and then heal that part of ourselves, and then we can show up more wholly. More whole and holy. Yes, okay, so we are out of time, but I do want to just quickly, we're going to play a short video here. Recently, through a whole bunch of synchronicities, we have begun to bring the medicine of ayahuasca to the United States. There's a grandmother shaman that we work with in Peru, and they have been sending us the ayahuasca vine. This is not a psychedelic, but the ayahuasca vine is just part of the brew that makes up the psychedelic brew that is ayahuasca. And the vine itself carries harmala alkaloids, and these harmala alkaloids are the same chemicals that are being synthesized in depression drugs. So Zoloft is a synthetic version of ayahuasca vine. Yeah, so all that antidepressant medicine is in that vine, and we have the tincture here available. We have our table outside. Please feel free to come up and ask us about it. Ayahuasca, the spirit of ayahuasca wants to come to the West. How many are familiar with the prophecy of the eagle and the condor? Ooh, we have a good amount of people. I like that. So for those of you who don't know, the condor represents the kind of indigenous wisdom of the Americas, and the eagle represents the more Western influences, the United States, capitalism, and these things coming in. And so there's this prophecy that the eagle and the condor will fly together, so that we'll have balance between the very masculine, philosophical, intellectual traditions of the West and the very heart-centered, earth-centered, compassionate, grounded aspects of indigenous culture, and where we can bring those two things together. And that is part of the reason why ayahuasca is becoming so popular in the West now. It's by design. The medicine wants to come and wants to spread and wants to help the West to come back into balance with Mother Earth. So that is why we are bringing this ayahuasca tincture. Thank you. So it can help with depression and anxiety, and also just it can help you do the internal work of tuning into your emotions and really do self-inquiry. But it's something that you can use every day. It does not make you high, so you can go about your daily life while you're doing this.
Deep in the Amazon rainforest grows a vine with such amazing healing powers that it has been used by indigenous cultures for thousands of years. This amazing plant that Western science has only begun to learn the benefits of is Banisteriopsis caapi, also known as ayahuasca vine. Indigenous shamans and healers are now sharing the secrets of this ancient medicine with the Western world. In a fast-paced world, seeking natural remedies for our well-being has become more important than ever. The Banisteriopsis caapi vine extract in Regenerate Your Nature ayahuasca microdosing tincture contains a remarkable group of compounds called harmala alkaloids. Harmala alkaloids, such as harmine and harmaline, are the key constituents found in Banisteriopsis caapi vine extract. These compounds have garnered the attention of Western scientists for their potential health benefits, especially in relation to mental well-being. Research is proving what indigenous healers have known for centuries. These compounds have shown antidepressant and anxiolytic effects, meaning that they may help alleviate symptoms of depression and anxiety, as well as increase brain power through neurogenesis and brain health through neuroprotective properties. Studies are showing that harmala alkaloids in ayahuasca vine can modulate serotonin receptors in the brain, enhancing serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine levels naturally, helping people experience life with more peace and joy. Our Regenerate Your Nature ayahuasca vine tincture is not psychedelic and will not make you high, but it will promote neurogenesis and neuroprotection in your brain. When microdosing ayahuasca vine, individuals report enhanced focus, increased creativity, and improved emotional well-being. And because this is not a psychedelic, you can work with our tincture while going about your normal day. Regenerate your nature with the transformative potential of ayahuasca microdosing and unlock a path to enhanced well-being. Visit regenerateyournature.com to learn more about this natural remedy and begin your journey to a healthier mind and body.
Thank you so much. I just want to give some more gratitude to all of you for being here this week, for desiring to take all of this, re-indigenization, freedom, all of these things back to your communities and building stronger communities. We're changing the world. Do you guys know this? It's us. We're changing this world. So thank you all for doing that work.
Thank
We
you.
love you.
Make some noise for Danny and Vanessa. Thank you guys for being here with us. All right, everybody, get to your lunch. We'll see you at 2 p.m. For those who are in person, 1:50 in this room. We're going to turn the Sun on Demand back on if you didn't see it yesterday. See you guys soon. See you soon.